Housework is unpaid domestic labor in the isolated workplace. For most women who do it, it is repetitive, unstimulating, tiring, boring, isolating, tedious, time-consuming, and concerned with trivia. And it is invisible, unnoticed, and unthanked, and unending, no matter how beautiful the house may be. For family housewives who have the potential to produce art or literature or music, there is little opportunity to develop their potential. Income from such activity, especially at the beginning, will seldom pay a babysitter and almost never pay anyone to do housework. Therefore, these women produce what they can after the housework is done and when there are fewest interruptions. My work deals with this on a personal level and on a more universal level. My images have come from my own struggle, but they speak of the experiences of many women. At first, my work dealt with the domestic objects which consume my time and energy in my own home. These prints did not make any comment about my feelings about the way I spent my time. With great enthusiasm, I sent some of these prints to Canadian print competitions and was astonished when they won a number of significant awards. I also discovered that a very high-profile dealer in Toronto was willing to sell them, as were other dealers across Canada. I began to wonder what I was doing in the kitchen and to long for more printmaking time. In my experience, childcare was linked to housework, and I was not prepared to give up that part of my responsibility to unqualified helpers. So I continued for years to integrate housework, childcare, and printmaking, producing prints in whatever time fragments that I could salvage between household and family work. However, as time went on, I became more and more dissatisfied with the way I was spending my time and the lack of time that I had to produce art. And although the patterns of family life were changing, there was no significant increase in the amount of time available for my art. Around 1980, this began to bother me a lot. I was starting to feel that time was running out, and many of my ideas would never have a chance. And I found myself wondering if there was some way of dealing with my situation in terms of imagery. This was a new visual problem for me, in that I had a series of quite complex experiences, not very well focused, which I wanted to express visually. In a sense, I had an idea without an image. I had to think in very exploratory ways and give my struggle some shape on paper. I did a lot of floundering and experimenting, and when the apron image first seemed worth trying, I had little idea that it would lead to the apron series. I worked on these aprons over quite a long period of time. The final step in their production was the printing of dark backgrounds around the images. This was a way of expressing the isolation of aprons and their fragility. They appear crushed and imprisoned in their frames and silenced by the glass. The wrinkles are all there, suggesting the many worries of the household. I wanted the apron to have appealing colors and textures and shapes with built-in political overtones. That is, they are intended to be a visual, candy-coated pill. Each apron in the series makes her own gesture statement about a specific aspect of domestic experience. Some of the arms are twisted, some hang limp, some suspend the apron, and others tangle in a state of collapse. Feelings of exhaustion, devotion, isolation, confinement, and anger, among others, are expressed. The knot always refers to the tie to the household and the resulting loss of freedom. Some of these statements are heightened by adding hand shapes to emphasize the tie-arm association, as in the prints Twisting Green Apron Arms and Hanging Green Apron. The Purple Heart apron uses a common symbolic heart shape to express devotion as an aspect of apron labor. The Blue Headache apron uses a symbolic color change where the tie arms touch an invisible throbbing forehead. The ties of the Pink Proposal apron, with its elegant embroidered courtship couple, express a mixture of anger and exasperation. This apron presents what society prefers to ignore, the connection between the glamorous courtship and the ensuing female fate of private domestic labor. In 1983 and 4, I decided to work on a more focused statement about various aspects of housework. And in order to speed up image making, I used the color Xerox process. This gave me photographic images to incorporate into prints made by traditional methods, and allowed me to include a very personal element by using a portrait photo of my own face, while still making a statement with which most women can identify. The Cake Rack Woman presents the lack of freedom felt by the prisoner in the kitchen who has made millions of cookies and baked products over 25 years. In the Fork and Spoon Woman, the face and the cutlery are arranged in a skull and crossbones configuration. The message here is one of warning, like on the poison bottle. If you think it is fun being a housewife for the best years of your life, take a good look at these images and think twice. The Egg Woman is trapped in an egg carton. She feels some responsibility for the eggs. At the bottom of the print, the eggs leave a format, suggesting leaving the nest. In the Shortening Woman print, there's a face trapped inside the shortening carton. There is a little pun here in that the shortening refers also to the shrinking of a woman's environment and possibilities because of her domestic responsibilities and her lack of financial independence or resources. The Measuring Cup Woman reflecting refers also to confinement and to the fact that women reflect upon this to varying degrees. And women are also aware of the measuring process by which they compare themselves to others and are measured by others. There are still some ideas for the Housewife series which I hope to explore. There are still some aprons which I would like to print. There are many aspects of women's private domestic labor which still require visual comment. By bringing images of women's private, unpaid domestic labor into public space, the value-laden division between housework and public work is challenged. Attention is focused on the growing awareness of women that the personal is political. Women's private domestic labor supports the wider political structures which control women's lives.